Friends, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Kem-Laurin, Human Futures with Kem-Laurin. Thank you for joining me again. Well, I woke up this morning a little bit on the upset side. I hesitate to use the word angry. The reason is because I was reading the news only to find out that the Americans are asking the Grenadian Prime Minister to allow them to put surveillance material at the Maurice Bishop International Airport. And that alone was triggering for me, because if you know who Maurice Bishop was, there's irony in this request. So in the 1980s, in the Caribbean, there was a coup attempt on the island of Grenada that was orchestrated by a lawyer named Maurice Bishop. And he would have been contemporaries with one of my uncles. Who knows, they might have even gone to school together in the UK briefly, I don't know. But there was definitely a vibe in the Caribbean in the 80s, and it was one of a revolutionary power. It was one that really advocated for Caribbean sovereignty. And the other thing that was happening around that time, there was also a push to stop people, at least schools, from writing what was called the GCEs, the English exams, to the Caribbean exams, the CXCs, where the content of our teachings, our textbook, would be Caribbean content, meaning that we'll be learning our histories, not European history. So I grew up in that space and with that energy. And I also grew up very woke, if you want to call it that, in terms of the history of slavery and the history of other islands. And Maurice Bishop was one of the heroes of my childhood. He was gunned down because he really sought to create sustainability and sovereignty for the people of Grenada, because at that time they were being run by a bunch of corrupt people. And who was powering that corruption? The United States. But as it would happen, he was assassinated along with some other people who took over the government with him. And this was all done under the instruction of Ronald Reagan in the 80s. And today, the current American regime is asking that they install surveillance systems to be able to spy on the country of Venezuela. When Maurice Bishop took power for the brief time, there were even songs made about it. I remember there was a Calypsonian. I think the song went something like, I want to go back to Grenada and teach those Cubans how to fight. They let America take over. So we all grew up with these songs, and calypso and reggae, if you don't know, is the way that we learn a lot of history. But I was incensed this morning. I made a post that was so angry. My son said to me, Mama, don't post that. People are going to get upset. But like I said to him, my son, I said, you cannot care what people will think. This request for the Americans to do that is, to me, just astounding, because this is a country that has created unease in every black-run country, from the killing of Sankara to the killing of the attempted killing of Traoré, of course, the historical killing of Gaddafi. If they do not like what you're doing and in line with who they are as murderers in this world, they will unalive you. And so I guess my call in this post is to let my Grenadian cousins know, do not let the Americans install anything in Grenada. They will start with Grenada, then they're going to go to Jamaica, St. Lucia, Barbados. We need to stand firm. We need to stand united. We need to unite with our African cousins and make them stand back. This is the first time in history where we have this power to make these people sit down, and we need to harness that power. I have always been like this, by the way. I've suppressed a lot of this activism and energy because I have existed in spaces that perhaps are not receptive to the things that I have to say. For those of you from the islands, you know that this is basically how I was bred, especially in the family that I came from. I keep on pointing to my necklace, but it's a little machete. So some of my ancestors were runaway slaves. We've never submitted. I think that's in my blood. But this reading this news just really riles me up, when I think about the suppression and the destabilization that the Ronald Reagan regime has done in Grenada to now turn around years later and have the nerve to ask if they can install surveillance system at Maurice Bishop International Airport. I don't know about you, other Caribbean people, how you feel about this. I really would love to hear how you feel about this this request. There was a song at the time when I was a little girl growing up in the Caribbean before I came to Canada. And it went something along the line. It was really a kind of a bastardization of what Maurice Bishop had said. I think it said, forward ever, backward never, or something like that. But the song went, onward, forward, backward never. And basically what it means is that we're not going back to those days. We're not going back. We are not going back. What we are witnessing is the fall of the West. We're witnessing the fall of empires that have, for hundreds of years, extracted from us. And now they're extracting from their own people because they can no longer do that to us. What haven't they done to us? Right? What haven't they done to us? And here they come out again with their hands out, asking for more. I try not to get to the point of being angry and to contain the disgust and anger that I feel for a lot happening in the world right now. We need to unite Africa, the Caribbean, because that is the only way we are going to topple a system that seeks to extract not just from us, but from poor people as well. By way of talking about what is happening in Canada right now, I know so many people out of work, people who work very hard, people who've been like 7, 8, 10 generation here in their 40s, moving to the basement of their moms and dads because they can no longer sustain, existence in these countries. And what these countries do, once they've extracted from all of us, they now look to brown bodies and begin a re-indentureship of people. The one thing that has really also riled me up is that I have quite a number of white friends in my local circle, and they will confide to me, well, I can't say that because they will call me racist. That alone is a problem. You need to speak up, because what these people do, they have a basket of words that they just hold up every time you push back on their illegitimate system, their thievery. They hold it up and they go, oh, socialist, oh, racist. And then you coil back and you think, oh, I can't say anything. And so you leave it up for people like me who can't obviously be called a racist to say it. This is the time in history where we all have to pull together. And as I have contended on this channel, this has never been about race. It's always been about class. We have basically given a carte blanche to a bunch of frat boys running the world. And it's time that we wake up and realize if we don't stop them, there will be nothing left for us. And so when I see what's happening in Grenada, for me, it is just really an affirmation to say, there we go again. There we go again. This cannot go on much longer. They have extracted and they will continue to extract and command and demand. It is time, Grenada. Call Mom Watley, ask her what she thinks about that request. And for those of you who don't know who Mom Watley is, she is the president of the Republic of Barbados. Caribbean people are waking up. They now know how we are treated here in a foreign. Right? They now know our stories because of social media, right? And really do not come for me in the comments. I will pin your comments and I will take you down. I'm just waiting to bite. Dare me.